Hello and welcome back to Group 6's presentation of GMOs. Quick side note, this is the works cited page from Against GMOs. I am going to be getting into in this video for GMOs, but as I was doing the video for Against GMOs, I was running out of time and completely forgot to add the works cited to the video. So again, this is against GMOs. This is the works cited. Now let's go ahead and get into for GMOs presentation. Okay, so here we go with for GMOs. Again, this is a presentation done by Group 6, consisting of Anthony Ponce, Betsy Garcia, Brittany Barker, Kaylee Contreras, also Kaylee Contreras as the person behind the mic, and Kristen Sims. Now, if you spaced out the videos and watched our Against GMOs and then took a break and are coming back, we are going to go over again what GMOs are. A GMO is a genetically modified organism, which means a substance whose genetic material has been altered using genetic engineering techniques. For example, they can alter the makeup of any food or substance that it is injected to. As you can see, these tomatoes are not fully ripened yet, so to speed up the process, they are injecting a GMO substance to the tomato to kind of hurry along the process to be ready for the customer's consumption. Going on to the history of GMOs, in 1973, Herbert Boyer and Stanley Cohen worked together to engineer the first successful genetically engineered organism, also known as a GMO. The two scientists developed a method to successfully cut out a gene from one organism and paste it to another. In 1980, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that scientists from General Electric could patent bacteria that were genetically engineered to break down crude oil to help with oil spill. Excuse me. The ruling legally permitted ownership rights over GMOs. This gave large companies the incentive to rapidly develop GMO tools that could both be useful and profitable. The first field experiments of food crops that had been genetically modified using recombinant DNA technology began in 1987 on Calgene's Flavor Saver tomatoes. Calgene's Flavor Saver tomato became the first food crop to be approved for commercial production by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. These tomatoes were modified to include a DNA sequence that inhibited production of natural tomato protein, increasing the firmness and extending the shelf life of the Flavor Saver variety. This helped scientists develop crops that were easier for farmers to cultivate. Now let's go on to why GMOs are good. As you can see in the picture above, it says GM crops beats insects. We will go into that further later on in the presentation. According to the Office of Science at the U.S. Department of Energy, one of the pros of genetically modified crops is a better taste, increased nutrients, resistance to disease and pests, and a faster output of crops. Now, another thing that we have been dealing with lately is pests, as you call them, ruining the farmers' crops. So by inserting GMOs to these plants, it is better to have them be more, just resistant towards pests. Farmers can grow more food on less land with genetically modified crops. Also, farmers can produce more nutritious food. Rice, for example, feeds 50% of the world's population. So, genetically modifying rice to have more vitamin A would reduce vitamin A deficiency in developing countries, such as China, Haiti, Africa, places like that that need those nutrients. We are able to inject the GMO into the rice, which is the vitamin they are lacking, and produce more for them, which would give them a healthier and longer life. Moving on to the ethical aspects of GMOs, genetically modifying farm animals can increase the amount of produce while using significantly less animals in the process. For example, a herd of cows that are genetically modified can produce twice the amount of milk than that of a herd of cows that hasn't been genetically modified. Now, a problem that has been happening with dairy cows is infertility. It is very hard for them to actually become pregnant. The process is rather lengthy and difficult. So by farmers injecting GMOs into dairy cows, it can produce more, and we can have a faster output of the milk. Going back to the slide. Also, farm animals such as cows and sheep can be genetically modified to certain antibodies in their milk, which can help with pre-existing medical problems. Moving on. Genetically modifying animals can also be modified to be more resistant towards certain types of diseases. When you are dealing with animals, they are living outside and they are more susceptible to certain diseases, which by injecting the GMOs can help them and the farmers with keeping more of their livestock alive rather than them getting sick. Along with cows getting sick, there comes when the farmers need to treat them with antibiotics. Now, when using antibiotics with any animal, especially animals that are giving us nutrients, it is harder for the farmers to produce more. It kind of sets them back when an animal gets sick because, for example, dairy cows, if a dairy cow gets sick, it sends the dairymen back because they cannot take out that milk from the cow because it'll still have the antibiotics in the system, which will then go to the shelves and human consumption. They might get sick, or something might happen to the milk, which then leads to other problems. So it is another reason why GMOs are a little bit better, because it makes the animals it makes them more resistant to getting certain types of diseases and such. GMOs can also be modified to increase the rate of reproduction and to eat less food while producing more, as goes for the animals. Lastly, those who genetically alter or test animals have to abide strictly to the Federal Food, Drug, Cosmetic Act created by the FDA that sets strict guidelines and rules for genetically modified livestock. Moving on to cultural and sociological importance. Scientists approve of GMOs and believe they are safe. GMOs are important to farmers and can help solve some of the world's most vexing nutrition problems, like preventing blindness, as well as climate changes like drought, which we previously were in a drought, and farmers were struggling to water their crops and feed their animals. GM crops have helped to increase the supply of corn and soybeans, so the rise in food prices is lower than the case if GM crops did not exist. People are so against GMOs today, but don't understand what they are. They think they are dangerous, although science says otherwise. After extensive research, the North American and European health data have concluded that GMOs pose no risk to our health. If GMOs are to be completely out of the picture, it might mean there are no vegetables enriched with cancer-fighting chemicals, drought-resistant corn, allergen-free peanuts, and bananas that deliver vaccines. Moving on to current events. In 2015, the U.S. first genetically modified apples were approved by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And apple browning is natural, although it is also determined by the levels of the PPL. The higher the levels, the more it will brown. Golden delicious apples have been modified to prevent it from browning by the Oaken Specialty Fruits in British Columbia, Canada. Excuse me. These apples not only never brown, but they also are found to be crispier than usual. Excuse me. People have the right to choose apple products, and it is up to the consumer to decide whether or not to have genetically modified products. Now, going more in depth with this apple browning, we are losing out our money. Say, let me use the example of a banana. If you purchase a banana and you do not eat it quick enough, the banana begins to brown, which then leads to the consumer having to throw it away because it is too mushy because we didn't get to eat it in time. By having these GMOs inserted into the fruits and vegetables, it will give them a longer shelf life, as we previously talked about earlier in these slides. When we have, it actually saves us money as well, because instead of us throwing away our money because we couldn't get to it in time, we are saving money by adding these GMOs to the fruits and vegetables. Moving on to the informed opinion. When dealing with uncontrollable and unforeseen weather, it is hard to have fruits and vegetables ready for season. With the help from GMOs, it can ensure the vegetable or fruit is ready for people to consume. Also, with the injection from GMO, it can also bring the plant to produce more nutrients, making it healthier for humans. The phrase, healthy life, happy life, can appeal to having GMOs in your life because they are helping us and our bodies strive. That is it for presentation 2 on 4 GMOs. Now I'm going to show the works cited. I will not forget it this time as I did previously. Here is the works cited. We are ending our presentation on GMOs. And that is it for Group 6 presentation on GMOs. Thank you.